Thanks again for everyone who's joining on time. We're just trying to give more people some time to join before we start. But, keep coming in, keep coming in. We're welcoming everyone. So I think we'll give it about 5 more minutes. Let's see what the number looks like at 5 minutes, and then we'll probably just kickstart. Okay? We appreciate for joining on time. So please just bear with us a little. Just want to have more people before we start. Okay, just see what 5 minutes looks like. And in the meantime, get your questions ready. John is already on the call. He's just waiting, just like we are, to see if we can get more people before we start. Okay. Thank you for joining on time. Okay, so I think it's safe to say that we can start now. John, what do you think?
I think that would be great, and thank you so much for everyone for joining the webinar today and spending your Friday evening with myself. Happy weekend, everyone.
Thank you. So I've got my name is Pearl. For those who may know me, if you don't know me, I'm Pearl. I'm the Director of Admissions and Marketing. John Gregory from the University of Alberta. I know that he's the Director of International and Transnational Recruitment. Did I get that right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yes. And we're going to have a very, very interactive session. We really want it to be very interactive. And we encourage, because as we were waiting for more people to join, we were just saying, get your questions ready. So we encourage you, to also ask your questions. You can feel free to unmute. You just raise up your hands and we unmute you, just so it's a bit orderly. And, ask all the questions you have. We're not going to do like a presentation or anything. We'll just ask questions and maybe we'll allow John to give like a brief talk about University of Alberta and all of that. Then you guys get to ask questions. I would also ask questions that I received. And just feel free. We want it to be very interactive and we want everyone to go home knowing that they've gotten as much information for us to be able to put in those applications. Okay? So, John, I'm going to hand over to you, and then you could just give us, tell us about University of Alberta. Why should students come to the University of Alberta?
Of course. So good evening or good morning from here. It's just gone 10 a.m. in the morning in Alberta. My name's John Gregory, and I'm the Director of International Recruitment at the University of Alberta, and have helped thousands of Nigerians come to Canada to fulfill their dreams and obtain their bachelor's degree. Been to Nigeria probably over 50 times during my career, and always look forward to coming and visiting. Currently, we have over 300 students from Nigeria pursuing their undergraduate degree at the University of Alberta. The U of A is one of the top 5 universities in Canada and among the top 100 in the world. That's according to the QS rankings, which is one of the major ranking organizations in the world. For those of you unfamiliar with the Canadian degree structure, degrees in Canada are 4 years in total. So it's a 4-year program, similar to Nigeria. You do 100 level through to 400 level, and then you graduate. Although there's been quite a few changes in work rights and study permits for Canada in the past few years, for students graduating from a bachelor's degree from Canada, they're still able to obtain a 3-year work permit. So if you come to a public university like the University of Alberta, you do a 4-year degree, you get a 3-year work permit afterwards. And go into one of the top universities in Canada, just like it would in Nigeria, obviously opens up more opportunities for you in terms of future career opportunities. Alberta itself is the province, so similar to a state in Nigeria, like Lagos State. Alberta is the state that Edmonton's located in. Alberta is the wealthiest province in Canada. It has the highest average salaries and lower cost of living compared to like Vancouver or Toronto. One of the reasons for that is we have a very strong oil and gas sector. We have some of the biggest oil and gas reserves in the world. But one thing the government's been trying to do is really diversify our economy, and like by building up world-class universities like the U of A, by good investment from the government, has allowed us to really help diversify our economy. One of the areas we're particularly strong in is artificial intelligence and machine-based learning. So we have a thriving ecosystem. And our strength in that was demonstrated by one of our professors, Dr. Richard Sutton, winning the Turing Award in 2024, which is considered the Nobel Prize for Computer Science. U of A is a large university. There's over 40,000 students who study here. Around 15% of our students are international students, so we have a good mix of both Canadian and international students. Big campus, lots to do on the campus. There's sports teams you can join. There's clubs you can join. And we also have the Augustana campus, which is a smaller campus, which we're here to talk about today. And that offers also great sports opportunities, great clubs that students can join. It guarantees students a place in residence. And being a smaller campus, it's a more intimate environment. So the instructors and other students will all know who you are. There's that additional level of pastoral support. As a parent, I know sending my children thousands of miles away to a country they've never been to is very intimidating, and you have lots of fears as a parent. So Augustana offers that more smaller, intimate environment where your child is going to be able to settle down into campus life maybe a bit easier. So I've talked quite a bit, but that was a high-level overview of University of Alberta, and I look forward to receiving questions later. But I just really wanted to set the scene for you. U of A is one of the top universities in Canada. Alberta is the strongest province economically, and our Augustana campus offers an extra level of student support.
Thank you so much, John, for the introduction. Thank you. So I know that one of the questions that the students or parents may have on their minds are, okay, what do I need to do to get admission? And what do I need to get the grant or any other U of A scholarship that was available?
Yeah, so admission to University of Alberta, Augustana campus, is currently open. Our next intake is fall 2026, so early September. So you still have time. We're still in February. We're coming up to about 6 months away. For bachelor students, what we're looking for, if you're currently in high school, would be your SS3 first semester grades and your SS2 results. So if you're still in high school or your child is still in high school, you want them not taking a year off, you want them continuing with their studies, which I strongly recommend instead of having a year off. The time to apply is now. We can assess them for conditional admission based on those documents, and with a conditional letter, students can apply for the Canadian study permits. My colleague Pearl and others at Harvestfield Education are able to submit that application for you. If you submit via Harvestfield, we'll give you an application fee waiver, so you automatically save $150. And they're experts in sending students to Canada, so they can make sure you have all the documents you need in place before making the study permit application. So our next intake is fall 26. After that, it would be fall 27. If maybe you've already finished WIAC, then we just need your WIAC results and your scratch card, and we can use them to assess you for unconditional admission. So if you're looking at Canada, whatever university you're looking at, the time to be applying is really now. If you leave it later, unfortunately, you probably won't be able to get your admission and study permit in time for fall 2026.
Thank you so much, John. Now, another question that I've had a student ask is it possible to combine majors? So maybe I want to major in economics and, this artificial intelligence. Can I combine them, or how does that work?
Yeah, there's often the option to do major and minors in different combinations. And one of the advantages of not just Canadian degrees, but I would say North American degrees as a whole, so US, Canada, is their degrees are very, very flexible. As you probably told from my accent, I grew up in London, in England, and did a UK degree. And as a 17, 18-year-old, I had to decide exactly what I wanted to study for my degree before I'd even stepped foot on the university campus. So with a North American degree, there's typically a lot more flexibility in the program. So we often see students start in one area and change to another. For example, although a lot of students like computer science, I don't think that's the degree they want to study. Sometimes they don't really like the intensive math elements you need for computer science, so they may then switch into other disciplines. In Canada, your credits won't go to waste. You can use that previous study towards obtaining a major in a different area. Typically around the end of year 2 is where you really need to commit to what program you want to study. Now, that will vary from program to program. Obviously, if you're looking to be an engineer, that has a much more stricter course profile given its professional nature than say a computer science degree or a business degree or a management degree. So if your child is unsure exactly what they want to study, a Canadian degree can be very helpful, and there's often the opportunity to do a major in one area and a minor in another area.
Thank you so much, John. Fantastic. Okay, so the next question is the grant. I know that that is definitely the number one thing everyone has in their mind. Tell us, what is this grant
Yeah.
about, and how can we qualify for that?
Yeah. So the U of A, as I mentioned, is one of the top 100 universities in the world according to QS. And I know there's been a lot of economic turmoil in Nigeria with the naira dollar exchange rate. Everywhere is feeling financial pressure in 2026. The grant is a unique opportunity for you or your child to earn a top 100 world university degree at a very, very competitive price point. So we designed it really to help students who may not be able to afford the tuition typically at a top 100 university, still able to access a top university. So the grant is in Canadian dollar terms, just under 25,000 Canadian dollars per year. So we guarantee you'll be able to complete your degree under 100,000 Canadian dollars for the full 4 years. So $25,000 per year, guaranteed for the duration of the program. Now, I know many of us are more familiar with US dollars. So in terms of US dollars, that's under 20,000 US dollars per year. Last time I checked, it was about 18,200 US dollars per year. And we give a tuition guarantee that your tuition will remain the same for all 4 years of the program. So the grant is really there to know, so you know the exact cost of your child's tuition for the duration of the program, and if you can budget for that 100,000 Canadian dollars, that is how much the tuition will be. On top of that, depending on students' academic grades, they may also qualify for additional scholarships as well. So we have admission-based scholarships. So when your child is assessed for admission, they would also be assessed for a number of scholarships as well. And if they've done particularly well in WIAC or doing well in their SS3, they could have up to $10,000 additional funding as well. So for some students maybe listening today, the first year tuition costs could be under 15,000 Canadian dollars. So I believe this represents exceptional value to be able to access a top 5 Canadian university.
Thank you so much, John. That was very helpful. And, for everyone listening, this is very important because Canadian universities, or let me say universities in general, they typically increase fees every year. So the University of Alberta is freezing your fees, like what you pay the first year, that's what you're going to have to pay till you graduate. So even if the fees increase the next year, yours is not going to increase. It's the people going in at that time that will pay the new fees. So that's very good to take note of. So another question is, if a student was taking, for instance, if a student currently is in an OSSD class, and maybe by now they only have about 4 courses, are they able to get a conditional offer? How would that work?
Yeah, so we understand the situation, particularly where students have maybe done SS2 and then gone on to OSSD. It can be difficult for them to obtain admission to Canadian universities just they don't meet the 5 subjects requirement at the moment. So we've just been working with a school in Nigeria where a number of students are in the exact same situation. So if your child is in that situation, please highlight the case to Pearl and colleagues at Harvestfield. And what we've been able to do for a number of students in that situation is request to faculty to give them a decanal admission. What a decanal admission means is the dean of the faculty uses his or her admission authority to admit a student who may not fall within the regular set admission criteria. So often it will be, okay, you've completed 3 or 4 OSSD courses and you're taking other ones. We would give you conditional admission on completing the other ones successfully. So I hope that makes sense. So if you are struggling to get admission based on going from SS11 or SS2 to OSSD, we are absolutely able to help you with that. As we understand, that means you're a good student. It's just you haven't followed the pattern that Canadian universities are more familiar with. So if there's anyone in that situation, please reach out and we'll be able to help you.
Thank you so much. And then also similar question, but for those doing WIEC and all they have is probably just the first term and the mock exam, are they able to get conditional letters? How does that work?
Oh, absolutely. The majority of our Nigerian students, I would say, come in immediately after finishing WIEC. So they finish WIEC about May time, get the results hopefully late July, sometimes early August, depending on WIEC, and then they're starting their studies in September. So we've already got hundreds of students with offers who are currently in SS3. So yeah, you can use your SS3 first semester results. We'll evaluate you for conditional admission, and with that conditional admission, you can complete all the formalities and also apply for your study permit with the help of Harvestfield Education.
Thank you so much, John. So another question would be for accommodation. How does that work? What are my options?
Yeah. So with Augustana, and I think wherever you go to university, I would really, really, really strongly encourage your child or you as a student to stay in accommodation, at least for the first year.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're going to meet your friends, you're going to get used to the environment, people are able to keep an eye on you to make sure things are going well. Going to university, even if it's in the same country, if you're going to another city, it's going to be a degree of fear and worry and will I be isolated, etc. So moving into residence is a great way to be around other students who are also in that same situation, looking to make friends, etc. So we can guarantee anyone coming to our Augustana campus a place in residence. Now, as you go through the degree program, you're more than welcome to stay on residence, but we know sometimes students want to live off campus as they evolve and their life changes. So if you want to live on off campus later, you're more than welcome to. But as a parent, my advice would be wherever you go, live on campus in your first year.
Thank you so much. And then another question I get all the time is, can I work and study?
Yeah. So international students studying at public university can work on or off campus from day one of your studies. Obviously, I would encourage students to settle into the environment, make sure they're doing well academically before working, but working is a great way to help get some additional pocket money, cover some of your expenses, etc. What we also offer at Augustana is the opportunity to engage in co-op program if you're in the management degree, or paid work experience if you're in the arts or science program. And again, wherever you go to university, I would really encourage you to look at those options. What it means is when you graduate from a degree, you also have a lot of work experience. Many students who do that type of work experience will go back and work for an employer upon graduation. The reason is the employer is seeing how you behave in the workplace, what you're capable of, what type of person you are. Now, hopefully you've done a good impression on your co-op. Obviously, if you haven't, they're not going to hire you back. But I would be much more confident as an employer hiring someone who's undertaking co-op than someone who just comes in for a 30, 45-minute interview, can say whatever is they like. Having that co-op experience really helps you forge those links with employers. And it also means when you're going for jobs in the future, you're not just talking about your academics, your degree. You're able to talk about work experience and practical examples of how you've helped out in the workplace. Co-op and work experience at the U of A is also paid as well. So again, it's an opportunity to earn additional income during your degree.
Thank you so much, John. And that's so true. It's kind of saved the if you got to do the co-op or internship and you performed well, you've kind of saved the company money training a fresh person. If you did well, they will want to hire you. They don't want to start training someone afresh. So that's part of the advantage for them and for you. And I recommend that, for those who are considering, if you can check if your program has co-op, please do. Please take that option. It definitely helps, for after graduation. Okay, so another question is, what would you say the turnaround time for admission is on average?
Yeah, so we appreciate things are getting close and you want to make a decision on your future as soon as possible. So we would try to make sure once we've got the documents we require, we give you a decision within a couple of weeks. And I know people have taken time out of their Friday to listen to this webinar. So particularly if someone on this call applies, I would work with Pearl to try and make sure we turn that application over really quickly. Again, there's no application fee to apply. So you can then have that offer from Augustana. You can see the tuition in writing. It's a contract between you and the university on the tuition. It will spell out all 4 years. And you'll also be assessed for scholarships at the same time as well. So what happens is the admission offer comes out, and then a week or so later, the scholarship offer. It's then really up to you to decide if this is the best option for you or your child. We have the Ambassador Program, which is a great initiative where you can go and visit our website and speak to current students at our Augustana campus, really get their perspective on what studying at the university is like. If you decide it is the right option for you, you would need to pay a $5,000 tuition deposit. If the worst happens and your study permit is refused, that would be refunded in full. But hopefully by this time in March, you'll be ready to commit to the offer, which would give you sufficient time to obtain the study permit for Canada. My one advice for anyone considering Canada is you need to be moving now. Don't wait to May, June, where you're going to be very upset. There'll be limited options available to you, and it would be very, very tight for the study permit turnaround time.
Thank you so much, John. Fantastic. So another question I've had is, what's the sports what do we call it now? The sportsmanship. What's it like? If I'm a professional footballer, I want to be a professional footballer. Can I join the sports team and play intra-university sports? Those kind of things. How does that work?
Yeah, so Augustana has its own sports teams, the Augustana Vikings, who will represent the campus against other Canadian universities and colleges. You're welcome to try out for the teams. They are competitive, so you need to be a good player. I know Nigerians are particularly interested in soccer or football, as I originally called it. I've adapted to calling it soccer now, but there's a thriving soccer team, as volleyball, baseball, basketball, as track and field options. And use of all the sports facilities is included in students' fees. Now, I know American football or NFL isn't that popular in Nigeria at the moment, but I know there has been a international student from Nigeria who a few years ago went to another institution in Canada and actually ended up being drafted by an NFL team, which I found was a good story to have. But yeah, Canadian universities, maybe sports isn't as big as at US universities, but I would say it's bigger than a typical UK university. So it's somewhere between the US and the UK in terms of sports seriousness.
Okay, fantastic. Great to know that. So I think for now, I'll take a pause on my questions and open it up. Do we have anyone, in the audience that has their own questions that they would like to ask? If you just raise your hands, we would unmute you and allow you ask questions. Feel free to raise your hand. This is the essence of this session, so you can ask John directly any question you have, okay?
And you're also more than welcome to ask him in chat if you prefer to do a right.
Sure.
If maybe you're unable to turn your camera on or it's loud where you are. So.
Yeah, so you can type in the chat if you don't want to ask it out. Okay, I see a hand up. Okay, let me unmute. Okay, so every other person, feel free to raise your hand or ask in the chat. Okay. Okay, sorry, you can unmute. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Olugbenro, I've unmuted you.
Hello, can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
All right. So the Harvestfield actually came to our camp, Lagos camp, and I think that's where I was able to get this contact and everything because I'm interested. I have a sister who she's interested in studying in the University of Alberta. I think she applied, last some years back, because she couldn't get the stuff on scholarships. So I just want to know how the scholarships how it goes. I heard 100 Canadian dollars. Hello.
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
So I don't know. I heard about 100 Canadian dollars. I don't know how that's like. Is that it? So I just want to know, and I also want to know if they also have a provision for those who want to do masters, if there's a scholarship in that particular area, and if there's, and for the scholarships that for the people, those that want to those that want to apply to University of Alberta. She's writing JAMB this particular year, so I just want to know everything about that.
Yeah, I can address those questions. So in terms of coming for a undergraduate degree or a bachelor's program, you really need to either be in high school now or relatively fresh out of high school, like I would say, finished high school in the last couple of years. If there's a bigger gap than that, it would be extremely challenging for you to get the study permit for a bachelor's program in Canada. I don't make the rules. I'm here to give you my best advice. So if there's a long gap between when you finished high school and now, you're very, very, very unlikely to get a study permit to study in Canada. Obviously, we would give you admission as we will give admission to qualified students, but you really need to think about, will you get the study permit? Now, moving on to graduate studies, we have a lot of students from Nigeria studying at graduate level with us. And what I would say is you have to really work for admission for a graduate program in Canada. Undergraduate, it's more you submit your grades, hopefully you have good grades, you're in. With graduate, there's limited number of places in many of the courses. And as a top 100 university, we're really looking for the best students to study our master's and our PhD programs. So what I tell students is you need to spend time on your application. In many programs, you need to find a supervisor to supervise you for the master's, and they get lots and lots and lots of applications every day. Students emailing them to say, "Oh, can you supervise you? Can you supervise me?" This doesn't stop you getting a supervisor, but you need to take the time to write a compelling case on why they should supervise you and not the hundreds of other students who are also contacting them about supervision. So we do have a lot of Nigerian students studying graduate studies with us. Many of them are receiving a lot of funding, whether that be in the form of scholarships, teaching assistant position, research assistant position, but it's on you as the student to do the work, make that compelling case of why you should be supervised by that instructor. But undergraduate level is more based on your high school results, but my personal advice would be you will need to either be in high school currently or finish within the last 2 or 3 years. I hope that answered your question to some extent.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Excellence, for your question. Okay, so before I read out the next question, I just want to remind, because I know some people joined recently, so I just want to remind us, just raise your hand and we'll unmute you to ask your question. So if you're still thinking about your question, no worries, think about it. If you feel more comfortable putting your questions in the chat, please go ahead, because this next question I'm about to read out is in the chat. So feel free to type it or raise your hand and we'll unmute. Okay, John, so we have a question from someone who graduated in 2024. She's asking, first of all, is IELTS or TOEFL needed? Is it mandatory? And the second question is, does the University of Alberta offer data engineering?
So IELTS or TOEFL are not mandatory for the University of Alberta. We don't require them. We're having the webinar today in English. And also for the study permit process, you don't need IELTS or TOEFL. We don't have data engineering. We have computer engineering as an option. We also offer artificial intelligence as a major and computer science as another option. I think we've lost Pearl. Let's just see. Ada, I'm not sure if you can unmute yourself. I may not have the ability to do that.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can. So.
Okay. Thanks for your response. That question was actually from me. I'm asking on behalf of my son. Unfortunately, he's not here at the moment. I only got the link to join the webinar about 2 hours ago, and he's not here, so I'm asking this question on his behalf. So I'm wondering if there's a limit for the SAT scores for admission. Is it also possible to change status, say from a tourist visa to a student visa or one has to go back to their home country because he's currently in the US and wondering if he actually has a tourist visa. So wondering if it's possible to go have a change of status processed in Canada. That's something doable.
Yes, so I'm not an immigration expert,
Yeah,
but Pale should be able to give advice on this, or we do have team members on our campus who are certified to give immigration advice on questions like that. But I believe you can apply from the US for the Canadian study permit, so it would depend on what your status is in the US at the time. So in terms of WAEC scores, obviously the higher the score, the better, and that would also open up additional scholarship opportunities. But we do have students apply from the US for the study permit, just depend on student status in the US. And well, we would be happy to look at the WAEC results and see if your son is likely to obtain admission.
yeah. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
I didn't get what her question was, but I'm happy to answer it. If you just type it in the chat, I'll read it and respond there. Okay, so we have another question that says, someone is asking, is OLC 40 compulsory? John, do you know what that is? I'm suspecting that has to do with OSSD.
I think it does. I don't believe so. I'm not aware of that course. So, but we accept a wide range of courses from OSSD. Students would need to do an English course in OSSD, and then depending on the program, the other courses will vary.
Okay, someone else is asking, are you allowed to pick your roommates?
Yeah, so normally if you're sharing accommodation, there you either can specify someone, if maybe you're coming with a friend and want to live with them, or there's a survey sent out to try and match you with students with similar interests. As obviously, if you are a night owl, you probably don't want to be paired with someone who's a lark or vice versa. But if you have a roommate you want to stay with, then yes, absolutely possible. And we also try to do surveys to match up students with similar interests and habits.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Someone is asking, what kind of support does the university provide international students?
So international students are able to access all the support services at the university, and we all want to go to university and have a fantastic time and have no challenges, but that's not always the case. So the university has lots of academic support available. It also has mental health support available to students. And we also have specialist services for international students, both to help with like study permit renewals, but also people who are more familiar with some of the challenges that an international student may have as opposed to a student who grew up in Alberta. We provide support services to students at 3. Again, we want students to be active during their studies. We do a big orientation event and events throughout the semester just to give those opportunities for students to connect with each other. One thing I would also say is all professors and all instructors offer office hours. Office hours are a great opportunity to meet with the instructor one-on-one, ask questions about the course, and you'll be surprised on how few students take up that opportunity. one of the nice things about studying at a campus like Augustana is it's much smaller, so people are going to be looking out for you a bit more than they would on a bigger campus. So that's an additional level of support available to students.
Thank you, John. So I see a question here asking specifically, is the gap year for admission to the university like 2 to 3 years, or is it less than that?
That should be fine, 2 to 3 years. What I get worried about for students from Nigeria and from elsewhere is if like it's a 4, 5, sometimes 10-year gap. I find typically it's extremely challenging for students with that gap to get study permits. Again, UofA will give you admission if you qualify, but that's the first step in the process. The big step is getting that study permit as well. And I don't want to tell people here to apply for admission and then not be able to have a realistic chance of getting their study permit. That's in no one's interest. Although we would refund the tuition deposit in full, you would still have wasted your time both on the process and the study permit application fees.
Thank you, John. So before I ask the next question, I just want to encourage more people to raise their hands if they have questions or type their question in the chat room so that we can, read out the questions if they prefer. But if you can raise your hands, it's good. It's just having a conversation with John. He's like miles away, and this is, bringing him to you wherever you are. Okay. So if you want to unmute and raise your hand, I would unmute you. You ask a question. Otherwise, put it in the chat box. Okay. So the next question is, how do students pick their courses in the first year? That's actually a very good question.
Yeah, and this is like a big difference between North America and the UK system. So typically in the UK system, you're given however many courses and you take them. With a Canadian degree, there's typically a lot of flexibility in which courses to take. And I know sometimes having too many options can be confusing and a bit complicated, particularly if you're not familiar with the system. So what we do and what a number of universities do is typically have what's called Registration 101 sessions, where we have people from the faculty talk about what your typical first year should look like, what courses you should take. I always tell students, don't try to be a superhero in your first year and take as many courses as you possibly can. Give yourself some breathing room. So take enough courses that you're on track to progress in 4 years, but don't try to take every single course you possibly can in that first year, particularly in that first semester. That first year, if you're going to be a successful student, you need to be doing well academically, so don't overload yourself academically. But B, you also want to be making friends and getting used to the environment, maybe joining the clubs, doing some sports, just to make sure you're getting for full university experience. Now, this will vary from program to program. So if you're going into some programs such as engineering, it's typically very strict. Simple, you are doing these courses in your first year. If you're an arts or a science student, there'll be a lot more flexibility in what sciences courses you take in, what other courses you take. So yeah, there's a lot of flexibility. We provide webinars on helping advise students what courses to take. And typically there's an add drop deadline. So you have typically 2 weeks to trial a course. And by the end of 2 weeks, you can either continue in the course or you can drop a course if it's not really the one for you at this point in your studies, and you can drop the course at no charge to yourself.
Thank you so much, John. Okay, so I think we're getting a bit more scholarship grant questions, and I think it's from people who came after you may have spoken about it. So if you could just, take a few more minutes to touch on the grant scholarships for the benefits of those who came after.
Yeah, so the Augustana grant is an exceptional opportunity to be able to obtain a degree from a world's top 100 university. So we're ranked in the top 100 by QS, which is one of the two major university rankings. It puts the U of A in the top 100. Your tuition, if you choose to study at the Augustana campus, would be under $25,000 Canadian dollars per year. So the total degree program would be just under 100,000 Canadian dollars. In terms of US dollars, that's under 20,000 US dollars. At the moment, about 18,000 US dollars. We also give a tuition guarantee. So the tuition guarantee means that your tuition is guaranteed for all 4 years of study. And when you're admitted to the U of A, it says on your letter what your tuition is for all 4 years. Now, if you're a strong academic student, you can also qualify for additional scholarships. If you qualify for them, you can sometimes get up to $10,000 in funding for your first year. So it would mean your first year tuition with the scholarship is below 15,000 Canadian dollars per year. We would look in terms of the academic scholarships at either your WAC grades if you've completed. If you're still in high school, we would look at your SS3 first semester grades.
Thank you so much, John. I hope this, okay, so I hope that helps, but I'm seeing, so another person's question says, so John has already spoken about the scholarship. Now someone is asking, does it cover all the tuition fee? What does it take to qualify? I know you touched on it before, but maybe they came out.
Yeah, so I can also speak about our application-based scholarships. Now, the deadline for them has passed for 2026. So anyone who's looking to get admission this year, they would be considered for up to $10,000 in scholarship funding. But we do have a number of application-based scholarships. So if you're maybe currently in SS2 or your child is in SS2 and is looking at full 27 admission, we have a number of bigger awards. So those awards, we're looking at excellent academics and also extracurricular activities. So what have you or your child done that makes them exceptional? Why should they get additional funding from the university? So each year we award the President's International Distinction Scholarship, and that's worth 120,000 Canadian dollars. As I mentioned at the start, the U of A has a strong linkages with Nigeria. We have many top performing students from Nigeria. So each year we give out 25 of these scholarships worth $120,000. And I was delighted that this year, the students don't know it yet. We haven't done the awards yet. They should go out next week. But we're going to have 5 students from Nigeria come into the U of A, receiving $120,000. Now, these are exceptional scholarship awards, but it's not an impossible scholarship award. So if your child is in SS2, I would be telling them they need to study hard, do great on their academics, but also make sure they've got strong extracurricular activities. And also when scholarship applications open for universities, they need to take the time in writing their scholarship application. It's not something to be done in half an hour, one evening. I'm going to submit my scholarship applications, I'm done. No, you need to draft your work, think about it, get other people to look at it, make the best possible case of why you're an exceptional student. As someone who reads through the scholarship applications, I can tell when students have taken their time writing it as well. So if you're looking at full 2026 admission, there's still admission-based scholarships available, which can be up to $10,000. That's on top of the grants. Even if you weren't to get any scholarship, you're still able to study with us for under $25,000 tuition per year. If you're looking at full 2026 admission, full 2027 admission, then the opportunity for next cycle would be to also apply for those application-based or application-based scholarships.
Yes, and just to encourage everyone on the call, like we've had a lot of students that have gotten these scholarships. So I can tell you for a fact, you have to have great grades and, you can get as much as the university is able to give. Okay? Okay, so the next question, and before I ask the next question, sorry, if anybody still has a question, I believe we may soon be rounding up the session. So if anybody has any question, raise your hands. I'll unmute you or type in the question box. Now, the next question is there an exception of first year for A-level students? So I think students who do A-levels, can they go into the second year? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I say students in A-levels have done 13 years of education. They would be able to get some transfer credits, which means they may save about a semester in time. They're not going to be able to, unfortunately, save a full year, at least with the University of Alberta. It may change from different institutions, but they would get some transfer credit for their A-levels. What I'm always a little bit cautious about as a parent, and I know there's a lot of cost implications with this, is getting transfer credit is great, but sometimes it's better for your child to take those courses, do well in them, get their confidence up, not go straight into the harder courses straight away. Now, I know there's cost implications in that, and you need to decide what's best for yourself and your child. But my advice as a parent is don't try to rush your child through first year. You want them to be successful, get their confidence up, be able to join clubs, make friends, get that full university experience. So yes, you won't be able to skip a full year. You may be able to take up to probably half a year, maybe slightly under off with A-levels. So yeah, that's the answer. Just think about it and do what's the best option for yourself.
Okay, thanks, John. And then I have another question. It says, when does the next academic session start for undergraduate or postgraduate programs?
Yeah, so next session starts September 2026. Applications are open. If you are looking to join, the time to be applying is now. Some of our master's postgraduate programs would have already closed, but our undergraduate programs are still open. Some of our faculties will close on March 1st, so on Sunday. Augustana will stay their application window longer. But wherever you're looking to study in Canada, whether it's the U of A or elsewhere, you need to be applying now. Don't wait till May, June time.
Okay, great. And the next question is, how much is the average cost of living per year?
Yeah. So accommodation at Augustana is around $10,000 per year, plus you got your book expenses. That $10,000 typically includes the meal plan as well. So a good number to budget would be between 15 to 20,000 Canadian dollars. For the study permit process, you need to demonstrate you have funding of just over $20,000 in living costs. Camrose, where Augustana is located, is a less expensive location, so the 20 would be more than sufficient, but around 15 should be absolutely fine. And again, students have the opportunity to work part-time to help somewhat with their costs, etc., provide some pocket money. Costs will vary from person to person, but I would say like 15-ish is around the minimum amount.
Thank you so much, John. So I have exhausted my questions. I'm just scrolling through to see if any other question, none else have? So I guess this means that John has done a fantastic job. Thank you so much, John.
No, and thanks so much, Pearl, for organising this session. It was extremely interactive, and I hope the parents and students got the information they're looking for out of that. As I mentioned at the start, the University of Alberta is one of the top universities in Canada. I've helped hundreds of students come and study in Alberta and have really promising futures over here. I know it's a very, very big decision as a parent. I hope this session helps give you more information. If you are looking at Canada, the time to be applying for 2026 is now, and Pearl and the team at Harvestfield have helped many students come and have successful degrees. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Thanks everyone for spending their Friday evening partly with me. I greatly appreciate it and hope to stay in touch and maybe welcome some of you to Alberta in the future.
Hopefully so. And don't forget, John has said as many people that we submit the applications for, there's an application fee waiver. So just reach out to me. I personally sent out the invites. So you have my email already. I personally texted everyone reminders for this session. You have my phone number already. So we're just a phone call or an email away. Okay. Thank you all so, so much for your time. Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone, for joining. And we'll end the session now. Take care and have a look.
Thanks so much.